Hello, welcome to Devlog number 12. This devlog is mostly going to cover my CCTV system, but we will get to that in a second. I'm going to start with just what you can actually see on the screen. So I've been thinking a lot recently about the story of my game and about, giving the player a reason to play, giving them a reason to actually interact with things, and what is it that is going to make them go to the right places, basically. So I just have a little to-do list to set the scene. So, requesting files has been crossed off, and then the next two things that you as the player are meant to do is check your emails and surf the web. So that kind of ties into the stuff that I did last week, where, you download the thing from the email and then surfing the web or going through that quiz is what actually progresses it to download. That is all I've done other than the CCTV system. I'm going to first show the CCTV system before I actually talk about how it works. So I just go ahead and click on it. As you can see, everything is just placeholder clips. There's nothing actually final in here, just because I don't have that yet, but it looks pretty simple. In terms of what you can actually see, the clips of painting, or just this lady painting or the house being painted, that is the default clip. And then the clip that says that this is the animal fear clip basically just represents the fact that this clip would be playing because the animal fear is the one that is the highest. So in the fear manager, I've turned the animal fear up, and then the script is actually looking at the fear manager, looking at which fear is the highest, and then it's playing the corresponding clip. So that was just kind of to prove that it worked. There's a bit of UI as well. You can just kind of zoom in, or you can go all. That's pretty much how it looks. So in terms of under the hood, what does that look like? I'll go ahead and open up the app here. There are quite a few moving parts to it. This was my first time actually using arrays like this, and it was really challenging, so I did have a lot of help for it, but I'm just going to go ahead and quickly break that down. So the first thing I've got is I've got 4 different video players. They're all obviously assigned to the 4 squares that you see, the 4 video outputs. Underneath that we have the 4 feeds, which are the actual squares that you can see. They work by just having the render texture connected into the raw image component. So if you have a look at the video players, they've all got the placeholder video as the video clip, and then they have the corresponding render texture. And that render texture is the thing that's inside the raw image component and is how the videos actually output. So beneath that we have the zoomed feeds, which is just a bigger version of the same thing that gets toggled on and off when the buttons are clicked. So it's just my cheat way. I actually originally had some fancy animations for zooming in and out of the CCTV cameras, and I had a little time lapse of me making and testing it out, but it didn't actually look good, and I didn't know where to put the buttons for it to look nice, and it was just kind of a mess, but the idea was definitely fun. But anyway, moving on. So next thing is just the buttons. They are very simple. They just set game objects on and off, and then the top bar is just me keeping things organized, and then I have a button to test it. This button doesn't actually do anything because I've got the script set to just going and starting on start, but this is a bit of a glimpse on how things are set up. The next thing to look at is the media manager. So this is my new manager, empty, with the script attached, where I've got all the videos and video players actually assigned. So the media manager is going to be the first script that we have a look at. It has 5 different arrays, 4 for the different cameras, the 4 cameras, and the video clips that will play inside of them, and then 1 array for the video players. In a nutshell, all this script does is it controls each CCTV camera feed, each one with its own set of video clips, and once the video finishes, it's going to pick a new clip based on the top scoring fear in the fear manager. So if we have a look at that a bit further, the start function is just going to go through each video player and then initiate query for each video clip. We'll talk more about that in a sec. On video finished is just going to initiate query, and then initiate query, what is that actually doing? So the first thing it's going to do is look at the fear manager to figure out which fear is the highest, and then it's going to, using a var, it makes a temporary variable and essentially converts it into a number. Then the next thing it's going to do is get every single video player and make kind of like a temporary array. Then using that as well as the other variables that we've just created, it's going to call the function determine video playback. Moving downwards to return array position. This function basically uses a switch statement to map each sphere type to a number, and then those numbers match the order in which the clips are assigned here in the inspector. It's always going to be animal, situation, environment, blood with the clips that I've assigned in the inspector. So everything has to match up for it to actually work, because it's kind of like using two arrays on top of each other, if that makes sense. The next thing we've got is determine video playback, which just randomly decides whether to show the default clip or the actual sphere associated clip. So after doing a random check, it just says if it's 0, play the sphere clip, and otherwise play the default clip, which is in position 0. As you can see here, these are always going to be the default clips. Then the video clip array, when I was editing this back, I realized I got the explanation for this wrong. Basically, the function's whole job is to return the correct camera clips array position, and the final function play video just does that, plays the video. But yeah, to summarize it again, each clip has its own list of video clips, and when the scene starts, every video player is going to immediately pick a clip based on the highest sphere category from the sphere manager. Then once each video finishes, that system is going to repeat. It'll like check the top sphere, use the matching clip, and sometimes it will just play the default clip to kind of give that glitchy looking effect where sometimes it plays and sometimes it doesn't. And it works by basically laying the arrays on top of each other so that everything matches up correctly. But yeah, I hope I explained how the script works. It definitely was a challenge to get to this point, especially because I'd never really used arrays like this before, and having to use multiple arrays and lay them on top of each other basically and make sure that, you know, everything matches up right was definitely very difficult. And I kind of am getting used to using temporary variables and realizing how useful they are when you just kind of need them for the function. It was definitely worth the time it took to invest into the system, because I think, like I mentioned before, where I am thinking about the content of the game, it is starting to feel like I'm doing all of this profiling kind of for no reason. It feels like there isn't a big ending, or I'm not using the profiling in a flashy enough way to justify actually going through and collecting that information. So I think this, as well as a few other things I have in mind, will help me bring everything together, help show the player that there is actually a profiling thing happening, and that there is, and the game is actually adapting using the choices that they've made, and it's trying to figure out what they are scared of. So as long as I can actually get that across, then I think I will be decently successful. But yes, I do need to think more about my content and a bit more about the story, where that's going to go. I still have to do a lot of the assets. These are all just placeholders for now. So I think the next thing I'll work on is probably recording the videos for these. I plan on just using my house and stuff that I already have, since that's always the easiest thing, and then just editing it loads in After Effects, which hopefully will look pretty cool. But yeah, that is it for this one. Thank you for watching.